Our Keeneland Race Horse is all glued up and we have a beautiful day outside to carve it. Let's get started. Hello and welcome back here to the shop. My name is Brett and we are continuing work on our Keeneland Thoroughbred Race Horse. Now, if you didn't see last week's episode, I would recommend go back and watch that. The reason we are doing this particular horse is, number one, it's something brand new that I've been wanting to do for some time. And number two, well, I won the Keeneland racetrack in Lexington, Kentucky. I won their Master of Craftsmanship Award put on by the Keeneland Mercantile. And they had commissioned me now to come up with a thoroughbred racehorse to display and to sell in their mercantile. One, they have a flagship in Lexington, and then they have one out at the track as well. So we are working on something brand new for them to display. Now again, last week where we left off, we were working on the head, and I was kind of walking you through how to lay out in the process that I go through when I come up with a new design and taking it from paper, from my layout board, bringing it over here, and then getting it into block form and ready to carve. So we went over a lot of that, and then I went over the head and what we did, and we worked on our legs and getting the legs sort of roughed in and then attached to the body. Well, this week I've gone ahead. I have our body, as you can see, it's all glued up and ready to go. And I thought, well, let's just go on outside. We've got a beautiful day outside for September. It's going to be a perfect time to be outside and carve. Let's go ahead and we'll get things set up, and we'll go ahead and let's get this little horse roughed in. Now, I don't know, again, like I did last week, because this is a brand new design and I'm still kind of working this all out and working out the kinks. You know, I don't know how much direction or, instruction I'm going to be able to give you all. But again, I think I'll just set up and we'll just start carving it, and you can kind of watch me as I carve. Now, one of the little areas that I caught myself, or a little, I guess we can call it a screw up, that I did, and this is one of the things when you get into a brand new design, there's going to be lots of hiccups and lots of things you have to work out. One of those that I didn't catch at the beginning, maybe you all did, was that when I attached the head to this body, we had to put it on a bit of an angle, because again, I want that horse to be laid out like it's running through the wind. So to do that, instead of putting the head like traditionally on top of the body block, we had to cut into it. And of course, we had to put an angle on the body here. Well, now that I had it all glued up and I was ready to glue the head to this body, I could not figure out how I was going to cut that angle. So because the legs were already attached and those legs are kind of flared out or splayed out, it's not going to sit nice and flush on my miter saw back here. It's too big to go through my bandsaw. I can't run it through the table saw, so I had to really kind of think about that. Well, I was able, with a little bit of finagling, a little bit of shims, I was able to get that to fit on my miter saw, and I was able to get that angle cut and get the head glued on. But now that I've done that and I see what I need to do for the next time, really it's a simple fix, and all I have to do is glue the middle body block and the top body block together, and then before I glue everything down to the bottom body block, all I have to do is put this up on my miter saw and cut that angle and then glue it down. So it's an easy fix. But again, as I'm rolling along and gluing this all up, I never even thought about that, and I never even caught that until everything was already done. But like I said, this is just one of the things that you run into when you start a new design, new project like that, is working out all of the kinks. So let's go ahead, let's head outside. I'm going to get things set up and I'll get all suited up, and let's just start into this horse and let's see if we can't get this roughed in today. Maybe I'm sure we're going to be able to get it roughed in, but let's see how far along we can get here today. So I'll meet you outside. So I've spent about 2, maybe 3 hours rough carving our little horse here. And my overall impression so far, I'm really liking the direction it's going. I'm real happy with it so far. You know, this is where I struggle, and I've said this before, because I really just want to kind of tear in and just really focus on detail and getting in and trying to make a realistic horse, or a little bit more realistic horse. And I know that's just not possible. So I've just got to kind of get my mind out of that and just kind of focus on just making a nice looking representation of a thoroughbred horse. Again, this is a child's toy, and I have to keep reminding myself that. So I think the best way I think at this point what I need to do is just set up. I'm bringing my stuff inside the shop just a little bit inside the door, and I'm going to start sanding it. And I think I'm going to get a better idea of how this horse is going to look once I get a lot of the rough carving, get this all smoothed out and get it looking more, you know, round and a lot softer. I think then we can start looking at what little detail we want to add to it. We've still got quite a bit in here, material in the chest area yet. I'm not quite sure where and how I'm going to do this area because there is a lot of muscle tone and things, so I'm not real sure yet. But again, I think once we sand the overall horse and make it round, then I think maybe some of that will start to show itself and see what we need to do as far as carving and the detail. You know, the leg here, I could probably take a little bit more material back in here. I think this leg could go up in here, so I could probably bump that back and play with that. The front legs, sitting back and looking at it, the front legs appear either to be too short, or the rear legs appear to be maybe just a little bit long. But again, we won't know until we actually build the rockers and mount this to the rockers. We may be okay, but on the second time when we build this again, we'll take a look at this. If we need to, we could shorten up the rear legs a little bit, or we could add a little bit of material, or maybe drop these legs down this way instead of them being so far out. Maybe we can drop them a little bit, which will raise this up, you know, 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch. But then again, it may be okay. We won't know until we get, you know, basically to the end of this thing. So I'm bringing my jaw horse inside the door right now, and I'm going to set up right here. Let's go ahead and get it sanded, and we'll work on sanding it, and then we'll step back, talk about it some more, and see what we have. But I'm happy with it overall. You know, overall, I think it's looking good. Well, after a little bit of sanding, this is where we are at so far. Again, I'm really liking the direction this is going. We've got a lot to do yet, and I was just kind of looking down the back end of it, looking it all over. I think I'm a little bit wide here, you know, on this back end right here, and I think tomorrow when I get into the shop, I'm going to carve some of this down and bring it in a little bit, bring that rib cage in, and that'll give that appearance of the back end. You know, it'll kind of thin out the back end, I think, a little bit if I just take some of this in. Again, we've got some playing to do here in that chest area, but overall, I think it looks pretty good. And of course, we've got all kinds of carving to do on the legs and some things, but we're getting there. This wasn't a bad day and a good day of roughing this in and getting it to this point. You know, I'm really, really happy with it. If you saw, I kind of went in and played with the top of this neck a little bit and brought out the top part of that, I guess the shoulder. And again, I don't know horse anatomy, so you're gonna have to forgive me on that. But I know there's a little bit of a ridge right here on the back of the horse. And, you know, I brought some of that out. So I think tomorrow is going to be really focusing on the chest and kind of come up with a game plan that we can do something with this front part here. And we'll bring in the back end of this a little bit more. And then it's just really getting down to fine tuning, adding, you know, playing with their legs a little bit and adding a little bit of detail here and there. And I think we've got it. Good. Well, we'll see y'all tomorrow. It's a new day here in the shop, and we are continuing work on our little thoroughbred Keeneland Race Horse. I'm kind of getting a bit of a late start here today. I've had some emails to send and some things to do outside of the shop, and I'm ready to get back in here and get working on this. But throughout the morning here, I've been kind of coming in, taking a look at this, and I always like to use the term, you know, living with it. So I'm not in any real big hurry at this point, because I will step back, take a look at it, look at things, study it a little bit, and maybe go out and do something else and then come back in. And one of the areas that really kind of stands out to me, and one of the areas I want to visit here today, is right here behind the front leg. It looks to me like I need to go in and carve this in some more and bring this belly in underneath here a little bit more. It seems to be a bit flat to me. And the same here with this back leg. It seems like this is a bit long up in this area here. So we may go back in and carve in on some of this, maybe see if we can kind of shorten that leg up or make it look like it's not as long. And those are two areas there. Of course, one of the big areas I really want to work out here today is this front chest area. And what's really bothering me is we've got a nice line coming down here from the neck, and then it just kind of comes down and it flattens, and it just kind of meets and just goes flat here at the front part of this chest. And I'm thinking, the more I'm looking at it, I think what I want to do is carve this back a little bit and add a little bit of an angle here and get this part here between the legs back towards the center a little bit more. And I think that will give this a nice look. So that's what I want to work on here today. I think though, just to get started, we're going to just go in. This won't take long to go back in here and just kind of carve this a little bit more, go in a little bit deeper. Let's go over to our jaw horse. I've got it set up here in the front, and we'll get everything clamped down. We'll start carving on that. Then I think we'll head back over here to the bench for the rest of the day, and we're going to work on the front part of our horse. So let's head over there and let's see what we can do. I'm over here. I brought my jaw horse in close to my bench inside the shop here, and I went ahead and I took down some of the area here behind the front leg and the back leg, and I haven't sanded that yet, and I'm just leaving it rough. Now I'm going to go ahead and focus on the front part of our horse here, and kind of looking and thinking about and studying some different pictures and some things to add just a little bit of definition here, add some muscle to the front part of this. I think I'm going to go ahead and carve right here above the leg where it meets the body. I'm going to carve that down and carve in a little bit and give it like a little bit of a fold. Again, I'm not going crazy. We're not trying to make an anatomically correct horse or anything, but I think just a little bit of definition here might really help the overall look of this horse. So that's where I'm going to start right now. I went in here with my die grinder with my extra coarse cone bit on, and I just kind of took this down and flattened it out and kind of took a little bit, it's hard to see on the camera, but I did kind of cut back a little bit and lay this down so that it has a nice shape to it. And I'm going to go ahead, let's cut into here on the top part of our leg and just kind of, we'll just play with that. And we're just going to play with everything. We'll just see what it looks like and see where we go with it here. I'm hoping I've got, I may not. Another nice day out today, and I'm trying to leave the big garage door up, but you can hear the noise, you can hear the traffic in the background. I apologize. I could shut it, but then it gets a little bit warm in here, so hopefully that won't bother anyone too much. Like I said, I'm just going to take just a little bit here. We'll follow this all up with sanding, just some sandpaper, and I do have some files and some small rasps that I can also get out and use to add in some of this little bit of muscle tones. Well, after quite a bit of sanding and some thinking about everything, you saw kind of the direction I was heading. I was going to go in here and I was going to start carving in some of the muscle tone in that chest area there. And once I really started getting into it, I just sit back and take a look at it again, and I just didn't like the direction that was going. And the problem I had with it was it seemed like my eye was sort of fixating on that area where I want somebody to see this horse for the first time to look at the entire horse. And I just think that area there in particular, I think somebody would have been, coming along looking at it, their eye would have been directed right to it. It just wasn't, it just didn't look right. If this were a bigger horse, if we were getting into something like a medium or a large, I think, yeah, then we could probably play a lot more with muscle tone. But being that this is a doll size, I just didn't like it. But what I ended up doing, and I'll try to bring the camera in a little bit closer so you can see it, is I carved this little area here where it's kind of like where the leg attaches and comes into the body of the horse. And then I brought this little bit of a shadow line, this little bit of a carved line, and I'm leaving that for now. I do like this area, and I left a couple of the creases, the carved creases in here. They're just real slight, and I kind of like the way that's working. Just to give it an idea of just some creases there in the, in the horse's body. And I did the same thing on this side. I just left a little bit of a carved line there just to represent where that leg is going and where that muscle is at. I think that's working. I put this out, and again, some of you that are new to this, and some of you that are on Facebook, I highly recommend jumping on. There's two pages I would recommend if you've never seen them before. One is the Rocking Horse Makers on Facebook. The other one is the Rocking Horse International. Great group of folks on there, and it's a bunch of people that I like to interact with from around the world that enjoy making these horses and doing restoration. There's a wealth of knowledge on there, and there are some super, super talented people on there, way more talented than what I am. And so what I did is I got it to this point and I threw it up on the Rocking Horse Makers Facebook page, and I just was asking everybody for their input as well. And I got some fantastic feedback from them. One of them, David Highland, that started the Rocking Horse Makers Facebook page, also said, just to keep it really smooth, and I believe just to keep it simple, and I like that bit of advice and a bit of feedback, is let's just keep it nice and smooth, and let's not worry too much about a lot of the muscle tone and a lot of that area. Back here, I did add this little bit of a ridge back here just to represent that muscle in the back, but I like that. I think let's just keep it simple for now. And I've had some other feedback where let's just, finish it. And then maybe on the second one, we can add a little bit more blocking and we can play a little bit more. And again, I love that too, because my work, the way I like to work is I'll build one, and I may build 1, 2, 3 of the same one, and then just let them slowly evolve. And again, I guess it goes back to what I originally said about just living with it. I may make a second one. I may put it out in our living room area and just kind of study it and look at it and think, well, where else can I go with this? What else can I do? And so, down the road, then maybe I'll try some different things and just let the horse just sort of evolve. Another great piece of advice and some input was to carve out up underneath here a little bit more, and just to define the separation of those legs. And so that's what I was doing there. I just kind of went in and just kind of gradually just took that down a little bit and ran that up under. And I really like that, the way I did that. And again, just bear with me and I'll bring the camera in and you can see it. So I think I'm real happy with it overall. And I think I'm happy enough with it that we can go on to next week. Well, let's go ahead and start building the rocker for this. This is going to be on bow rockers, cherry bow rockers. So let's go ahead and let's stop on this for now. Let's focus now next week on getting in here, and we'll start building those rockers. That shouldn't take long at all. A few days we should have the rockers pretty well built, and then we can set our little horse up there, and then again step back, take a look at it, notch these hooves, and see if we need to go from there. So again, I think that's the plan. So I really appreciate y'all again hanging out with me here at the shop. Don't forget to please like, subscribe, and share this page, my YouTube channel. That really helps me out with the algorithm. Also, check out the Rocking Horse Makers on Facebook and Rocking Horse International. Great group of folks, and you can get on there and you can see some seriously really good, talented, wonderful people, and there's a wealth of knowledge on there as well. You can check me out on Instagram and let me see, TikTok. I started a little bit of a TikTok page. I jumped into that, so I'm all over the place. But yeah, please, check it out and give everything a thumbs up. Really helps me out. Well, once again, thanks a lot for hanging out with me, and we'll see you here at the shop next week. Take care.